Television Network, TSPN. And now back to Today's Seniors Living Well with your host, Laurie Webb.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Today's Seniors Living Well, and we're in our fourth segment of the day already, and I am absolutely honored and delighted to have with me one of the prime seniors who helped get the senior center started, Glenn Nix. Glenn, thanks for coming in this morning.
Good to see you, Laurie.
Now, Glenn has already been busy volunteering this morning. Every Wednesday he goes to Rayleigh's, and the floral lady at Rayleigh's lets us have flowers that are going to have to be thrown out, but Glenn goes and collects them all and brings them to the center, and then the seniors rescue them and bring them back to life. So, and you already did that this morning.
I already did it. That's one of the nicest things. I love to do it, so let me have that job forever.
You can have that job forever.
All right.
That's great.
Good, thank you.
We really appreciate Rayleigh's doing that, and we really appreciate you bringing it.
It's nice of Rayleigh's to do it, isn't it?
It really is, yeah. So, going back to the beginning of time, you were part of the first group that wanted to start the senior center. Can you talk a little about how that all happened?
I don't want to take too much credit. I was just on a committee of about 20 people. The Amador Corps supervisors had $250,000 that they could offer for a senior center if we would match it. We matched it in 6 months.
In 6 months?
6 months,
we
matched it in 6 months. Chairman of our committee was Fred Joyce. He ran the whole thing. He wanted to make a motion. He wanted something done. He'd make a motion and I'd second it. And by gosh, it was done in 6 months, and then we opened it up, and then I was kind of busy playing golf, so I didn't want to get too involved there, so I resigned and played golf for a lot of years. Well, a few years ago, Fred asked me to come back, so I'm one of the directors over there now.
Back on the board again, helping us out. Now, I understand that there was a kind of a feeling amongst some of the supervisors that you guys would never raise the money,
so
they weren't really at risk.
They were flabbergasted when we did it.
And now, ACSC owns the building outright.
Well, later, we raised enough money to pay the county back. So that is now, it's not an Amador County Senior Center, it's an Amador Senior Center.
That's right.
And it's a going concern.
It is, because of people like you. Now, you said you were playing a lot of golf, but you were also driving for the Stars van.
Well, it wasn't Stars, hadn't started yet.
Okay.
The Phyllis Swenson and a few of the other ladies ran the bus back and forth. They didn't have a bus, they had an old station wagon. Marvin Rossini, another Rotarian, came to me and said, we ought to buy them a van. So Marvin and I appeared before the board, and they said, that's a wonderful idea. You guys are chairman.
Be careful what you volunteer for.
So we, along with a lot of other people, raised the money and bought the first van. And I drove it, along with Marvin drove it and others. I drove the van 18 years.
Wow.
I play golf in the morning and drive the van the afternoon.
That's right, I remember that. And at the time, the American Cancer Society was in charge of all those services.
That is right.
And then within the last, decade,
they took all the money.
Yeah.
All the money would go to Sacramento.
Yeah, like we would raise $90,000 at the camp out, and they would take all of it.
Virginia and I was talking this morning about the Valentine's Box Day lunches. Raised thousands of dollars. It all went to Sacramento. So that's when Stars started, and they've done a wonderful job, really. I understand they have 5 vans out there now.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, I know they have a lot of volunteers.
Yes, they do.
And they don't do the lunches anymore, but they do the Camp Out for Cancer in September. And they raise a lot of money that way. So
the Valentine's Box lunches was a wonderful program, really.
Yeah, it was. Everybody looked forward to it every year.
And you had to get enough cookies for every box. My wife was the cookie monster. Her job was to get enough people to make enough cookies to put in all those boxes. So we had cookies stored all over the house.
You and Dorothy, you're amazing. These two, they come into the senior center holding hands like a couple of high school sweethearts.
Well, it's a wonderful marriage, really.
Yeah,
wonderful marriage.
That's great. Yeah. And now you play pinochle twice a week at the senior center.
Yes, I do.
And are you still playing golf?
No, I had to give it up. I got to the point where I could still hit the ball, but it wouldn't go very far, so I quit.
But you've always maintained an active interest in sports in general,
Yes, I have.
particularly the green and yellow of Argonaut High.
I'm an Argonaut fan for sure. Yeah.
So, is it true you've gone to almost every game in the last 30 years?
Almost. Not everyone, but many, many of them, yes.
Do you have a favorite sport, or do you go to all of them?
No, I go to all of them. Well,
All of them.
actually, believe it or not, the girls' softball is one of my favorites, really.
Really?
Those girls are real good.
Did you have a granddaughter that played?
Yes, I did. I had
Yeah.
a granddaughter.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I go to Argonaut games is my grandkids were all in the Bay Area.
Uh-huh.
And they were all athletes, too.
Uh-huh.
But I couldn't get to see them play. So this helped a little bit by seeing them here,
And I know that the people on the teams really appreciate it.
Well,
if you're not in the stands, they probably start calling around wondering, what happened to
Well,
Glenn?
We, because of the seating arrangement at the gymnasium for basketball,
Mm-hmm.
there's a railing there, and we have to have a railing. We can't go up the stairs very well.
Right,
So we sit
right.
in the same seat, and I've done it for years and years. And they look around and see if we're there. They
Yeah.
really do,
That's
and we do
very good.
appreciate that, really.
Yeah. Glenn, what do you think why do you volunteer for things? I mean, what help? What makes you want to do that?
Well, when you get old, you got to do something. You can't sit around and watch soap operas all day long. You got to stay busy, and that's one of the reasons that we stay busy. Dorothy volunteers as much as I do. Really.
Oh yeah,
she does.
And where does what?
You name it, she's there.
If something needs to be done, they can
Yep.
call Dorothy and.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we really enjoy it. Really, we do.
That's good. Well, I know that when we lost Fred,
Yeah.
and you saw me hauling those flowers up
Yeah.
onto the porch one day, you were like, "I'll do that for you,
Yeah,
Lori."
yeah.
And
I
I never
enjoy that.
looked back.
I enjoy that really.
Yeah,
I do,
that's
yeah.
good, and a lot of people benefit from that. So, and we do appreciate having you on the board too, because you have a lot of what they call institutional history.
Well, I'm just one of the members, and whatever needs to be done, I'll help if I can.
Yeah. What do you think are some of the most important things that the Senior Center has provided
Well,
over the years?
I can't pinpoint one thing, but I can sure, every time I go over there and see all those people enjoying either a meal or bingo or pinochle or exercise or whatever, or having their taxes done, I think what a wonderful thing that is for them, really.
And you must feel very proud of the part that you played.
Yes, I do.
With
I do,
all
yeah.
those other folks in
Yes,
getting it
I do.
started.
Yeah. Most of those people that were on that committee are gone now, but there's a few left.
Yeah, I was looking at the donor board the other day and thinking about people like Dora and Jim Keeland,
Yeah.
and you're right. You're part of a very small select group now. So, and I'm hoping that you will stay involved with the Senior Center.
Well, I probably will, as long as I can be believe that I'm helping.
Yeah, and you are.
Yeah.
We really appreciate that. What would you have to say to somebody that says, "Oh, I worked hard all my life, and I really don't feel like spending time doing stuff"? What advice would you give them about changing their
Forget
attitude?
it and get busy. Do something.
Do something.
Do something, no
Yeah.
matter what. Do something.
Yeah. One of the things I think about folks like you is that you're such a great role model for
Well, I would hope
up
so,
and
but I
coming
don't know.
generations.
I hope so.
Yeah. The other thing that we've done a lot of at the Senior Center when Fred was alive was we used to do those dinners. Remember how?
Do I ever? Chicken cordon bleu.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And there was hours of work that went into those things.
That center would not be there if it hadn't been for Fred Joyce.
Yeah, Fred really played
Yeah.
a huge
Harry
role.
Humphrey was helpful too.
Harry
Yeah.
was the one I think who originally got that committee together,
he did,
and
yeah.
Fred was on the board of supervisors
Yeah.
at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was instrumental.
Yes, he was.
So, and then he, of course, got us going on the Seas candy. So.
Yes.
Are you going to get your pound of candy today?
Well, I bought a bunch of those certificates,
Right. So that's good. Yeah. So you've lived in Amador how long?
Came here in 1970.
Uh-huh.
PG&E transferred me here.
Uh-huh. You were with PG&E.
PG&E.
Uh-huh.
I came here as a manager of the PG&E for 12 years, and then I retired.
So how did Fred find you to...
Well, he was on the board of supervisors.
Yeah.
And I used to attend all the board meetings.
You did?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Well, I attended all the board meetings and all the city council meetings, too. So I was gone every night somewhere or another.
You were just really actively watching what was going on in the
Well,
community.
I was on most every committee in town, really. You name
Wow.
it. Boy Scouts, Cancer Fund, the Hearts Fund. And somewhere or another, I got involved in
You
all
got
of them.
involved in it all.
But not anymore.
No? Well, it still feels like you're doing a lot of stuff, though.
Try to stay busy. Yeah.
Yeah. I think people don't realize that if you don't use it, you're going to lose it.
Yep.
And you really are a good example of not losing it at this
Well,
point.
when I walk in the room, I realize, see, I'm probably the oldest person here. Isn't it?
Well, that might be true in a lot of places. You and Dorothy just helped put on a awards dinner at
Yes, we
Mel's
did.
for the
It was for the basketball team.
and it was a big deal.
Well, at the ball game,
Mm-hmm.
at the intermission, all of the players came over, lined up, and individually shook hands and thanked us for being.
Came over to you and Dorothy.
Shook hands
Yeah.
with us and thanked us for supporting the team all those years. You know.
Yeah.
So I told the coach, I'd like to do something for that.
Uh-huh.
I'll make a donation to the school. He said, well, let me think about it. He said, we have an awards dinner and then we have a potluck. I said, why don't Dorothy and I sponsor a potluck, you know?
Uh-huh.
So it didn't turn out to be a potluck. We went to Mel's downstairs.
Downstairs and had a banquet.
Had 134 people down there.
Wow,
So
that's great. Well, that's a big awards thing.
it was.
Yeah.
It cost
That was just basketball?
just basketball.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. Maybe I'll get the football team next year.
Oh, okay, well, we won't hold you to that. But Glenn, thank you so much for coming
betcha.
in today, and I'll see you at the Senior Center this afternoon for Pinochle.
I'll be there at 12:30.
That's great.
Thanks, Laurie.
All right, folks, thank you. All right, that's it for this week, and we will be back next week with a few more guests and a few more fun things to do. Don't forget to get your C's candy, and we're closing at 1 o'clock on Friday, so you better get there early, and thank you very much.
Okay.
Thanks for watching TSPN's Today's Seniors Living Well with your host, Laurie Webb.